Hey folks, welcome to the ComicBase live stream. We are just starting a couple minutes late, but hopefully we are ready to rock and roll at this point. Anyway, thank you everyone for sticking with me while I get things set up, and hopefully things sound okay to y'all out there in the world. Getting some grief from the sound guy here, and the producers think I sound like I'm recording from a bathroom. It can't possibly be that bad, can it? Anyway, the sound treatments are actually sitting there just off the stage that way, and hopefully will be hanging over my head at some point in the near future, but not today. Anyway, guys. All right, so anyway, hi. We have a lot to get through today, but I do want to say hi to folks first. We are going to be talking about tags. We have a ton of comic book news, a ton of interesting industry news, and a little bit of a focus issue. Just let me hit that right now. Okay. All right, I think that's a little better. Okay, yeah, hi, first in the door is Ora Viejo joining us here from beautiful spring in Minneapolis. Huzzah! Jet City Comics is joining us from the state that wants so badly to be like California. Yeah, that's complicated. Anyway, Mike Beam from Vancouver, Greg Hector, our producers in the house from down South Jersey. Tom Legrado is joining us here, and it has a request for the Commodore 64 version of ComicBase. We will get right on that. It's just a couple other deliverables in front of you on that one, but we'll see what we can do. And joining us out here from Canada and out in Toronto, Brian Price is in the house from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Rob's joining us out here from Toledo, Ohio. And yeah, it's the urgent updates. Yes, was machine still not set to date? Still not saying daylight savings time, for instance. Yeah, that's. This is what happens when you go away from doing the live stream for a couple, 3 weeks, because I was down, just with my head down, just buried in work. And so then suddenly it's like all the bill for all the updates comes due all at once. And that happens about 12 minutes before we go on air. So fun times. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually going to be trying to update the demo database in real time while I yap about other things. So this will be good times. So anyway, things that are going on. Oh, I'm sorry. I also want to say hi to Agent de Camp in the house. And is there anyone else that I need to talk to here as I switch? Oh, Dia Libby here, so I apologize for that. And Agent de Camp is echoing. I don't know why it would be, but okay. This says we're talking about tags, but not skin tags. No skin tags. There's no tag on the live stream. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. All right, so let me see here. I just want to get one other thing going before we get rocking and rolling here, and then we will get this show on the road. Okay, so checking for updates. Let's go ahead and get this rolling. I should say, yes, you've got a content update, and then, all right, we are good to go. Okay, so yes, the show from 3 weeks ago was all about unfinished business, and it was talking about tags. So backstory for any of the folks who didn't, hear that one in its entirety. What it comes down to is, once upon a time, back in the olden days of when we were still associated with Comics Buyer's Guide and a partnership with them, and we were trying to, had a big meeting with Brent Frankenhoff, Maggie Thompson, all those guys, trying to think like, all right, well, we've got, several thousand comic titles at this point. I think it might have been 2 or 3 thousand. And we were trying to figure out how they would all be organized and how would you go from one to the other, not just by name. What other things would be interesting, other than publisher and such. And someone had the idea of genres, and Diamond Comics was experimenting that, where they would say, like, this is a superhero comic, this is a a romance comic or something like that. And so they had 3 or 4 genres themselves. We came up with an expansive list of 22, count them, 22 genres that we were going to classify all the world's stuff according to. And it wound up being things like superheroes, action adventures, drama, mystery, fantasy, and so forth. And as it turns out, when we got to what we are now, with over 95,000 titles in ComicBase, 1.45 million comics, turns out that genre didn't really narrow it down in any huge sense of the world. It's like if you go to superheroes, you find something like 13,000 titles listed under it, or action adventure, same story. So we wanted to have a way of making it so you could be much more specific, and also open up the ability for you to have your own ideas on how to classify things. I mean, there may be things that you guys are into that we are not into, for instance, we only had one manga character category. Who knew that there were like names for all the different kinds of manga that that appeals to young men, to young women, to tween girls, things like that, shoujo manga and such. But we wanted to have the ability to have just a free-form list, and so we came up with the idea of tags. The idea being that we would start with our 22 genres, use those as the default tags. We'd turn tags in for everything that was in ComicBase up to that point, and we'd let you at that point tag your own going forward. Now, the big problem, so the good news, yeah, solid idea. Really well done, Bickford. Nice job. The downside of this one is that as soon as we got through the process of putting the stuff out the first time, we realized two problems. Number one, we don't have a way of getting new tagged items out to you guys. It's not part of our current list of the content update. We don't have a way of getting tags back from you, because our thought was that the tags are going to be very specific to everyone's own taste, and we didn't really have a way of sharing that taste around. So if you were really into urban fantasy, for instance, detectives set in the werewolf detectives and things like that, there was no way to get that information back up to us, and if we pushed down a new one for you and called it Urban Detectives, I mean, there was no way to have it encode the titles that you had in your database to take advantage of that. So that was a little bit of a problem. The other problem that we'd have is that we knew that all your tags would be very specific to your tastes and things like that, and we didn't want a fair number of stuff. So if you just want to say, this is the stuff from Scott's collection, you want to tag it all with Scott, we don't necessarily want to know about that. But at the same time, there might be things that you want to tag that we did want to know about. That whole process had not been set up. So we talked about this at great length last time out, and what it really came down to is because we wanted to put up some very specialized collection graphics for things like Halloween comics or Christmas comics or things like that, or just things like, let's say elections coming up and we want to have a list of political comics. We had no real way of doing that in the carousels for Atomic Avenue. And so we thought, well, gosh, wouldn't it be great if right about now the tags start working in a sensible manner, and less to say, hey, if you want to have a list of political themed comics, anything from Cal Exit to oh god, what was it? The anti-LBJ one. It was like the Great Society comic. I mean, there's been some hilarious ones over the years, but if we want to have something like that, we wanted to make that all work. So what we talked about last week is that I'm going to really need to go heads down on this whole thing and really grind on it. And so that's what I did. That's why it's now 3 weeks later, and I finally come up for air. And we're going to show off tags. We came up originally with the idea we come up with a list of, say, 300-400 tags. As it turns out, after a couple, 3 passes through everything that we wanted to tag, we expanded the list to about 804 official tags. And we have started now having the full process to get that through the whole sausage factory of getting data back and forth in ComicBase. So we're going to talk about that in a bit here, but before we get too deep into that, I did want to cover some comic related news and also some really big news just in the world this last week, because there's been a lot going on while we've been down in the lab working on all this stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. Agent of Camp asks, did I get the gazebo built? Yeah, at this point I have to call it a pavilion because the thing is freaking huge. And I have it now so that the main structure is up, and I have the 4 roof sections. If anyone would like to come over to my house and just help me lift them onto the roof so I can attach them, then the whole project will be done. We can all have beers. No, I'm trying to round up my guy friends because I need somebody with some upper body strength, because the way that this thing is assembled is you need to take these 4 giant 16-foot wide sections and stick them all up there and bolt them down. So we're just about there, but that's been my weekend project, because when I haven't been doing the ComicBase stuff. So yeah, thank you for asking though, but that's cool. All right, so let's talk about things that have been happening in the world. So the most esoteric item I think I want to talk about, because I think it's one of these things that is kind of fly under most people's radar, and then you'll kind of wonder, hey, whatever happened about that later on, after maybe you should have paid attention earlier. And that is the FCC is putting out a ban on all imported routers. So everything from your Netgears to your Amazon Decos to whatever else. Basically, pretty much every router you've ever heard of has components made in Asian countries. And there have been a variety of fairly, well, I mean, if you're following this sort of thing, fairly well publicized security issues that have plagued some of these ones, even the really good guys. But I hope you've been keeping on top of your firmware patches as far as all this goes. But it's basically being seen as a huge attack surface on American infrastructure. So the FCC is due to ban all import of new routers from the Pacific Rim coming forward. So it's quite likely that you will want to, if this doesn't get modified in some big way, you might want to look into what it would take to homebrew your next router if you're looking to upgrade. I know that of late, in the last couple of years, we've spent a fair amount of time upping our network speeds around the office internally to run on 10 gigabit fiber internally, and we're been looking to put that out as far as our externally facing stuff as well. Right now, our network speed is actually capped not by what we could deliver, but by the speed of our own firewall. And we're probably going to have to set up our own custom firewall, because the commercial solutions to get as fast as our fiber could go are stupidly expensive. And by stupidly, I'm talking well into the 5 digits for a single firewall. But you probably don't have that particular problem. But if you are getting to the point where you've got gigabit fiber in your network, and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to maybe get a better router to get all the stuff on my home network, you might want to jump on that now, because these sorts of things might be a little bit in short supply going forward. So have a look at that. Got a recommendation here for a Nighthawk Wi-Fi 7 router. Lovely stuff. It is indeed a lovely component, but I'm hearing that even Netgear, the routers like that, are coming under fire, because even though they're made by a U.S. company, the components of these ones are not made in the U.S. And so, I think the particulars of the ban are going to be of great interest. But that's a thing. So anyway, pay a little bit of attention on that one. If you're contemplating a network upgrade anytime in the near future, you might want to pay attention to that sooner rather than later. All right, in other news, very sad, Sam Keith has died. Sam Keith is was a very, very interesting artist. His style is, you could call it brutal, a little bit, dreamy. If you've seen The Max or his run on Wolverine, or if you want to get really strange, where he got started was on either Mage for Matt Wagner, or if you really have a taste for the obscure, The Fish Police. But he's more recently done For Women, Zero Girl, and so forth. And also notably, the first, I think, 5 or 6 issues of Sandman. So he's the guy who set the overall look of that series as it got going. One of the artists that we deal with art submissions all the time here at ComicBase, and he's one of the guys who, like, if a Sam Keith cover came in, there was never a doubt about who did it, because he was an absolutely unique drawing style. I'm going to say some things wildly inappropriate. Some other things, like if you want to talk about the bestial nature of Wolverine, no one else could have done it like he did. Maybe Bernie Wrightson, who was an early influence of Sam Keith's. But unfortunately, Sam died quite young, actually. I'm now of the age where I'm talking about people who are 63 years old is very young, because it feels that way, because he's not much older than me. But he died of, and I have it written down here because I couldn't believe, a Lewy body dementia, Lewey body dementia. I had to look it up. Apparently, it's kind of like Parkinson's, but not. It does not sound great, but he kept the illness private until right at the end, and we're very sad to have seen him go. Just like I say, a unique talent in the industry. And whether he was exactly your cup of tea or not, he at least gave you something to think about. And, I'm going to say, Godspeed. And so anyway, In other news, speaking of deaths, CBCS, the comic book something service, collector service maybe, but the big competitors to CGC, they're shutting down. This came out of the blue just a day or two ago. Steve Borak, who's one of the originators of CGC, he's the guy who got them. He was the guy that they brought on as the credible voice when they started grading comic books, he got CGC to become a force in the industry, but by 2014, he felt like he was not being adequately recognized for his contributions while at CGC, left, and he founded his own thing, CBCS. I remember talking to him right when he first did that, and I said, yeah, I guess give us your grading schedule, because competition in this field is going to be good for everybody. Having one party running the entire show in the industry is no good for anybody. So we were some of the first people to allow us for alternate gradings, like CBCS in ComicBase, which, by the way, if you want to know how to get to those in ComicBase, just go to the setup, go to grading setup, and look for grading sets. And you can choose from any number at this point of grading companies. If you don't, if you want to see the different grading companies out there, you can limit the list of when you go to grade a comic book to just the collectors companies that you use, so you don't get that drop down looking too crazy. But anyway, he found it in 2014. It was apparently acquired, and I did not really know this, but CBCS was acquired by Beckett, the card guys, in 2017, Beckett Media. If you collect sports cards, Beckett is their Overstreet. But anyway, they're shutting down effective April 17th, 2026. Why? And when this showed up on our boards, on our Slack chat yesterday, I had speculation, but I think the correct answer, is now known, is Collectors Universe, which is the parent group of PSA. PSA is a very famous card grading company, which has just entered the comic grading market at last Comic-Con, just this last July. They apparently are owned by Collectors Universe, and they apparently bought Beckett Media, Collectors Universe did, back in December. So I did not get a memo on this one, because I don't do a lot myself personally with graded comic books, but with Collectors Universe, with their PSA brand, now directly competing with CBCS, I think it's clear that they just said, look, why would we have two brands competing with each other? PSA is the one that we clearly have all our IP capital invested in, and they, as a result, shut down CBCS because it was just at that point a redundant brand for them. So so that's what's going on. So at this point, the CGC is definitely the big dogs in the whole thing. PSA has got a lot of brand awareness, known to because of their space in cards. There's a couple others out there, EGS, PGX, and so forth, but much lesser known than the big dogs there. PSA, even though brand new in the comic field, like I say, they enter into the field with superior brand recognition based on other collectibles. I think it's still an open question as to how they'll be regarded in the comic world. But if they can carry that over, and my guess is they're going to put a lot of their capital to make sure they do carry over their brand recognition, then I think that it's going to probably shake out to the big two being PSA and CGC, with CGC solidly, at the head of the pack, and everyone else probably competing on value in terms of why you would want to use them versus anybody else. Now, all sorts of opinions are all over the internet about, well, if I get it, graded by these guys, they're a little looser or harder, whatever else in the grading, I might get a better number. But then people will then discount or not discount that based on the relative reputation. Honestly, I think at this point, the collector sensibility of this thing, you're evaluating way too many factors all at once. I don't think there's an easy story to be told about which one is preferable. So if you do get your comic book slabbed for one reason or another, I think the easiest understand play is the one where you get it done with CGC or PSA. Basically, you're going to pay a bunch of money to some people. They're going to take a long time grading your thing, and it's going to come back with a grade that's considered like, yeah, this is the standard one. Whatever these guys think it is, it's up to everyone else to challenge why they think it shouldn't be that. So, to the extent that you like the professional graded comic book game, I think that's probably where your baseline is with the CGC grading, but it remains to be seen how the whole thing shakes out in the end. But I think we're seeing a little bit of consolidation on the whole thing. It's obviously been a big attractant of money and and capital in the comic industry. Particularly, it is also the table stakes for high-end books to have them graded by by one of the grading companies. So yeah, I think where money goes, people will follow, and also where companies go, consolidation will typically follow, and I think we're just seeing that. So let me see here. Oh wow, and the deaths continue. Tatiana Wood, former wife of Wally and Eisner-winning colorist, passed away on February 27th. I'm seeing from the chat here, and wow, okay, and someone's saying, and Bruce Willis. Okay. I don't even know. This is too much. Okay. All right. So moving on. Other things that have died in the last couple of days, or where their deaths have been announced. We all remember Sora. Sora was the platform that first got people really, really, really exercised about AI generated video, because they came out of nowhere. This was an OpenAI play. And suddenly they're like, oh yeah, hi, we're going to give you a prompt of something like a woman in sunglasses walking down a Tokyo street. And suddenly video would appear 5-10 seconds long, but perfect video. I mean, if you didn't look too closely and you ignored all the generations where people's feet were going through the sidewalks and things like that. But it was a way of making film or making moving images that was so far beyond what you could conventionally do with CGI. It really ushered in a whole new game. So when you're going to, obviously, the obvious way to make a video is you take a camera, a video camera, and you point it at something that's moving and you roll film. That's kind of our default. Unfortunately, it tends to be very expensive. It involves lots of things like sets and actors and costumes and things like that. When you want to go and do something fantastical, like let's say you want to now have the Hulk running down a San Francisco street, it's very difficult, even if Lou Ferrigno is in town, to get someone with the proportions of the Hulk running down that street. And so we've been, doing for years after that CGI, computer graphic. Good Lord, I'm blanking on the I, but basically computer graphics. And what we've been doing there is typically use that human motion in what's called a mocap suit. Basically, it's all sorts of little points you array on a suit. You get an actor to bound down the street, making Hulk-like gestures, and then you use computer graphic techniques to put, the image of the Hulk on the motion of the graphic actor. And then you do lots of compositing with backgrounds, and you add in lots of SFX. And if you look at the layered video files that coming out of these things, vast amounts of time and energy are spent making the whole thing not look like crap. And if you've ever watched any of the Marvel movies, or frankly any of them, movie from the last 15-20 years, and you see just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of video effect artists and animators, that were all the people who went into making all these things come to life and hopefully not look too crap. That was the state of the art up until about a year ago, when this thing called Sora appeared, where suddenly you could just give a prompt to AI, and AI, because it kind of knew what Tokyo should look like, and it kind of knew what people look like, and it kind of knew what reflections, cars cast and things like that, in all the surfaces and all the things like that, could just in a matter of minutes create an effect shot that would take you, 3 weeks to composite together, and $100,000. So it was an absolutely amazing thing. And the worst thing about it, in a way, from a filmmaker standpoint, is that if you really broke down the best of what they had to offer and you compared it against the best of CGI, your CGI started looking like crap. Because when you start out with really good photorealistic models, I mean, all the warts, everything else about the skin tones and everything else like that, and you talk about the complexity of how light strikes it and everything else like that, CGI, you have to actually model all that stuff. You have to put, light sources in space and try to bounce reflections and things like that. AI had the advantage of, it just kind of knew what the shot should look like. And it so wound up looking far more realistic when you talk about the interactions of the physical elements than other things. And you got it in an instant. And so a ton of filmmakers looked at this thing and said, hey, wait a minute, I know what I could do with this. And I instantly, as soon as it was demoed, there were commercial film directors who make, cartoon, animations of chuck wagons running out from, underneath the counter and having your dog chase it and then run back in and things like that. These once upon a time were $100,000, $200,000, video shoots. And suddenly this is like 2 days of messing around with a tool like Sora. Now, Sora, the first on the scene, that did not do audio. It didn't do a lot of things. If you looked carefully at what was going on in the background, actors and things like that, there were a lot of strange things that were going on in some of it. It quickly got better. So you start with things like you'd see videos of people like gymnasts up on balance beams doing backflips, and if you stop framed it and things like that, you see there'd be frames where like their arm in one shot would become their leg in the next shot as they flip, bit over bit. There were some very, very strange things going on initially, but in the year that we've been looking at these things, not just Sora, but other video models have arisen that are just absolutely stunning. And if you put that together with someone who, and we started learning some of the tricks of how to get really good results out of it. You start with a photo of what you want the image to look like, and if you give us a photo of the end of the scene, that helps it keep on, the different models, it helps keep them on task, keeps the image from wandering too much. If their different models got much stronger about maintaining physical coherence and knowing the way that, like, snow would fall off the treads of a tire and things like that in cold weather, or the way your breath would fog up as you're talking on a snowy day. We saw models come along later on that did audio, where you literally could just say, yeah, it's a person with a plummy British accent, male. He's talking to this woman here. Here's the lines of script I want to give. And you could talk about in different terms of delivery. And there are great programs that have come along for both manufacturing the voices and the delivery, but also you started seeing programs that would have the audio built in, or for that matter, even the audio effects. So, this rain, is about, pounding off of a tin roof in the distance, things like that. And they would start putting this stuff together, and used carefully, used by people with taste. And honestly, if all we're seeing is the efforts that got through all your failed generations and all your experiments that didn't work out, we saw some really amazing things. That's kind of like where we got on this whole thing. The funny thing, though, is the further we got on with other models, the less people talked about Sora. It's like Sora set the world on fire when it started, and then there was never like a Sora 3.0. It's by the time anyone could use it, they were using other things. So that's kind of where that left off. And I think OpenAI looked at that and said, it's kind of like the way that when a politician's disgraced or something like that, they start, suddenly discovering how important family is and wanting to spend time with them. OpenAI discovered, after they'd been completely lapped in this field, that Sora wants to spend time with its family, and we've decided to focus our product offerings on non-video things and things like that. So Sora is shutting down, but things that are in its place, which they were the guys who broke down the door. But for things, if you're interested in this sort of thing, have a look at Kling AI 3.0. They allow you, this is in the current generation, to make up to 2-minute long clips. So think about, just a shot is a clip. You don't want to watch a 2-minute long shot unless you're a Robert Altman fan. It's, a 10-second long shot in today's filmmaking feels like an eternity. Most people are editing to a much faster pace than that. But also, if you can make it so that in the next shot, it looks like it's the same actor and like they haven't just changed roles, we've gotten much better at that sort of thing. But Kling AI 3.0, up to 2-minute clips right now, that's better value. It's much faster. There's an open sourced video generator called WAN 2.6 right now. Open source meaning basically you can install it on your own hardware. You don't necessarily pay for it. Well, you got to pay a lot for the RAM and the video card to get you going. But once that's done, you can generate to your heart's content. And the one that has everyone absolutely losing it right now is a thing called CDance 3.0. CDance 2.0 is out right now. I want to say Alibaba is the people behind this one. I could have that wrong. Correct me in the chat if I do. But this is the one that if Hollywood wasn't having enough of a conniption fit watching, which again, if you think about what caused the writer's strike last summer, it was Sora. So when it was leaked out, a kung fu scene with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, doing the Jason Bourne thing up on a rooftop, which Tom Cruise and Jason, and Brad Pitt were not part of. They were all AI generated, and it was, I mean, not the best thing I've ever seen, but certainly not the worst. But the idea that you could just create this and you could just create the movie in things like this absolutely had Hollywood, Disney, everyone who owns a copyright suddenly talking to ByteDance, the people who make it, and are absolutely having conniption fits. ByteDance, famously the Chinese company, which I believe they'd be U.S. ownership as well, but Chinese holding, which is why TikTok was so controversial. And China is so well known for respecting copyright, but they did get them to back off on the U.S. release of CDance 3.0 for now. That being said, the technology is clearly out in the wild. So even if this thing winds up leaking out as a thing on somebody's own open source server farm or whatever else, there's no stopping this stuff at this point. CDance also has long-term memory 10-minute plus clips. They apparently talked about one shot that's 18 minutes long that they've done as a demo. Better physics, 4K cinematic video, great prompt adherence, and so forth. Hollywood is absolutely losing their stuff. And honestly, any number of independent people who have a story that they want to tell visually, I don't know if you even call them filmmakers anymore because there's no film. But I think you still need the sensibility of a filmmaker to make it all work. Are absolutely licking their chops at the idea of saying, hey, I would love to make a $100 million action film. I just don't happen to have $100 million kicking around. Hey, I wonder what I could do with a whole lot of time on my hands and these kinds of tools. And the answer is you could make your picture. And so, we're entering into a very interesting world on that part. So anyway, that's all stuff that happened this week. And so computer-generated imagery. Thank you very much, Chris Prezol, for the eye. I don't know, I just completely threw a block on the eye on CGI. Greg Heck says, no, Bruce Willis hasn't passed away. He has a type of dementia last seen in the same time. Okay, that's what they're saying in the check. I had heard the same thing. He more or less faded from view, but I had not heard that Bruce Willis had died. Indeed, Bruce Willis has not died so far as we know as of right now. But hey, the way the week is going, who knows? Okay. All right, so let's talk about tags. And now is a great time because I just got my machine up over here. And let's swap over to the demo machine. If we can get that on screen. There we are. Boom. And let's talk about what's going on here. So, all right, let's go. First of all, let me get the mouse over on that machine. Come on, mouse. There we are. All right, let's go to, let's see, let's pick a rando title. Batman and Superman. All right, there we go. Let's try this guy. Okay, so this guy, I can tell we have not updated this one yet because this one is still sitting there back at the old tag that we would have had from beforehand. This is just superheroes. It's just, it's one of the original 22 genre tags. But we have the ability now to do some new things. So let's talk about tags. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, I'm going to be introducing features, and I might be going a little fast. I'm going to try to keep her slow. So a number of things have happened to try to make working with title-based information easier. So there's two types of information in ComicBase. There's issue-based information. I'll put myself on screen here. There's issue-based information, all the stuff for this is all about issue number 1 of this particular issue. And there's stuff about the title itself. Things about the title itself are like its description, what country it was, from, who published it, and what tags it belongs to. Tags don't belong, you don't have a tag for an individual issue, you have a tag for the whole title. And also what years it was published. Those all appear up here. Now, when I click on an individual issue, then you see here's the stuff about that individual issue, who wrote it, who drew it, and so forth. We wanted to be able to, as we're making it easier to work with tags and stuff, we also want to make it easier to work with title-based information. Now, it used to be the way you get to a title-based information is you double-click on any given issue and you say edit title information. And yes, you can still do that. And here you are. Here's all the stuff about this title and so forth. But we've decided to make this a little bit easier. So let me show you some of the ways you can do that now. So first of all, when you are just looking at any given title in the database, if you just right-click, you can do things like, say, find this thing on Atomic Avenue, search Google for it, print divider labels for it. But now there's a new option up here for edit the title information right from here. All right, and so now let's talk about the tags. Now, I could add any number of different tags to this title, but I'm a little lazy, so I'm going to actually just slap this new button over here, which is AI Suggest. And yes, it's doing exactly what you think. It's going through, it's looking at the title description over here, the name of the title, its publisher, anything else it can find about it, and it comes up with a list of titles that it thinks are likely to apply to that one. Now I'm going to say this one in particular, well, I mean, it's kind of an adaptation from the animated series. Well, actually, it's exactly the animation of the animated series, so I'm going to leave that one in. I was about to take out TV adaptation. I am going to get rid of action adventure because I still think Indiana Jones might think that. But for everything else, yeah, no, that was actually spot on. It figured out that, again, it read the description and said, okay, well, this involves Harley Quinn, the Joker, superheroes, TV adaptation, etc., and it added those all as tags. So anyway, so when you guys download the most recent update, you're going to see that we not only have the tags, the original 22 genres for most titles, but you're also going to see, by and large, that you're going to see a number of other tags will appear. And they appear in these little pill-shaped things right at the main list of the things. Now, if I want to see, I'm looking at a given title and I want to find other titles like it, let's say I want to find other things that are tagged with Joker, then, oh, I'm sorry, this is one that has not been updated yet, so it doesn't have the new tags in it. So I don't know, I'm going to do the lame thing here. You know what? I don't know how lame I'm going to be. Let me see. I was having trouble with the internet on this ahead of time, so let me see if I can get an update rolling in the background. If I can't, then we're just going to push on. And I'm going to talk over things that I should be showing you, which is bad, but hey, we'll see. All right. Let's go ahead and download these. All right. Okay, so while we're talking about this, let's zoom in here a little bit because I do need to show you a little bit about how the tag information gets around. All right. Not what I wanted. I wanted the magnifier, which is right here. There you go. Okay. Okay. So when you download an update, you notice how you've got a bunch of options right now. And the important one for tags is whether or not you want to allow corrections to existing series info and descriptions. So if you want us to be able to update tags for you, make sure that that is checked. Now, granted, I would in general say, unless you have a very strong reason not to, make sure, I would say check all of these guys down here. I would say check all the stuff just like you see it right down here. Allow us to remove obsolete items, allow automatically download pictures and so forth. But as far as allowing corrections, I would check them all. That's personally what I would recommend. So I'm going to go ahead and get this update rolling, and we'll talk about what's going on. So let me switch back to myself while that goes on because it's not super interesting watching that. So where tags are right now is there is currently a list of, I believe, 804 official blessed tags. So let's talk about the difference between official tags and not official tags. So we realized ahead of time, just like you can tag anything in your collection with whatever tag you want. It doesn't need to be a tag we've ever heard of. It could just be, it's Scott, because it reminds me, this is one that reminds me of my buddy Scott, or Scott would love this. And so I'm going to tag it Scott. So you can put that in your copy of ComicBase. And if you submit that to us through the corrections, we're actually going to get the tags that you put on the title as part of the correction. So all you got to do is, if you submit Batman and Superman's Adventures World's Finest #1, and if you tagged Scott, we're going to see that it includes a tag for Scott. And at that point, the people processing the corrections are going to look at that and say, means nothing to me. And they're not going to approve Scott as a official tag. It's not one. Scott is not one of the official tags known by ComicBase. We have official tags like Harley Quinn or Poison Ivy or things like that, but we do not have Scott. But there was, for instance, one of the things that came up recently. You may suggest things that suddenly we think, well, that's actually a really good, tag. Let's add that in. For instance, someone was putting up tags, and they put up a tag for Judaism because it was a work on something involving Judaism. And so it's like, perfectly good tag. I can think of several things that are amongst the books, magazines, and comics in the database that apply to that one. Yeah, sure, let's put that in there. At which point, if we see a tag like Judaism that we had not had in our official set ahead of time, we can actually just click that, and it becomes, ironically, internally we call that blessing the tag. But anyway, what that does is it transmutes it from an unofficial tag to an official tag. So at that point, Judaism, or could be anything else, Poison Ivy. It goes from being a suggestion to an official tag. And then when we push out the next update, you get two things from us. You not only get you get a list of all our official tags as part of the update. And if you're taking serious descriptions, anything that is an official tag gets pushed to your copy of ComicBase as a new tag that you can choose from. You're not required to, but you can. But the other thing that will happen is anything that we have then tagged with that official tag will also get marked that way in your database if if you said take series collections. So for instance, if I go in there and I say, what's this name? If I say, sorry, I need to click on something here. If I say we've added a tag for Poison Ivy, and you want to go ahead and download something that's been tagged with Poison Ivy, suddenly you'll see that as one of your options. So that's a thing that will happen. Sorry, we had a system update kick in, so I have to restart the update. Sorry about that. All right. So you'll get as part of downloading a content update, you'll get the full list of new tags. And so you'll start out with like 22 of them right now, the very first time you're launching ComicBase 26.2, which is currently on the interim release track. If you're not pulling down interim updates, you're not going to see it. But as soon as we make it the official 26.2 release, you will see that. You'll suddenly see that there is a brand new tags menu under your setup. So you can see all the list of official tags and what their meanings are and so forth, but you'll also be able to add your own tags and so forth, and as you go and tag things to your heart's content from there. You also can tag things just by editing the title and assigning a tag just willy-nilly as you go right there, but it's a little cleaner if you go from the tags window. All right, other things that I can be talking about while that update is running. Let me look at my notes here for a second. All right, so we talked about official versus unofficial tags. We talked about blessing them. All right, where do you see them? So on the main screen, if you happen to see a tag that's of interest to you, what we're hoping comes up is that you'll just see a title that you like, and we will decide, and you'll say, hey, that sounds good. I would love that. And looks like, darn it, looks like this database is still old school, so this is going to mess up my demo right now, but we're going to roll with this the best we can. If I have to, I will just take my machine and put it on the other screen, and we'll do it that way. Welcome to live TV, folks. All right, let's get this onto the other screen, and I'll demo it from mine. Yeah, official demo computers sound like a really great idea, and they mostly are until they're not. So let me see if I can get this one over there. And all right, I think we've got it. All right. So yeah, this isn't very strange to look at all. All right. So let's try it like there, and I'm going to switch my view to the PC so I don't go out of my mind looking at boxes within boxes. So give me just a sec here. And that is not what I expected. Okay. Ha, 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 ha. Live TV indeed. Okay. Great. Let's see what's going on. I've got it on the chroma key screen. Yeah, this is not confusing at all. Yes, welcome once again to the best produced show in all of the internet. All right, now I can see it. Okay. So, and yes, this is a submission we got right before showtime. Someone sent in The Last Economy, A Guide to the Age of Intelligent Economics, which has the brand new tag economics. Actually, I think we might have had economics as a tag already because we have a certain number of magazines that we care about, and so that was one of them. But let's go ahead and go back to our friend. Let's just go to Batman and Superman, World's Finest. Okay, so when you're looking around here, you will see different tags for this one. Now, this is a different database, so I didn't put in the other ones that came with the others. But so if I want to see other things, if I just see a tag that seems interesting to me, like say Superman, I can click on here, and we've done a couple of different changes that are kind of interesting. So first of all, this is just everything that happens to be tagged with Superman. You'll notice this is a title search. So if I were to say find tags for the tag Superman, I'd be the same kind of thing. Now, a couple things we did that are actually kind of nice. One is title searches now. Like you used to be able to say find everything that's published by Marvel. We now show you pictures along with that, as well as we show you much more information, and we'll show you the what's this name? The tags in the list over here, so you can see what's tagged with whatever else. And from here, you also can edit, the titles as you go. You can submit from here. So if you have a whole bunch of title tags that you're looking at and say, oh, hey, I want to add Robin to these, you can highlight them all. You can now do a quick change right from the title information and quick change title-based information as well as issue-based information. And you can say things like, I want to add Robin to these 15 titles I've got, listed on here. Or, hey, yeah, no, Robin wasn't the right call. I want to take away Robin from the tags. You can do that kind of information as well. You do that just from the quick change command, which is going to be a kind of a pain because I got to drag it all the way onto the right screen and take it from there. So, and just go down to tags, and you can either add or remove a tag as you go. So if I type in something, that, boom, and it will add or remove the tag as you go. All right, so that is, wow, that was about 15 things there I'm talking about all at once that I did not mean to. So, all right, let's go back to tags. Where do you see them? So you're gonna see them at the top of titles as you go. Just if you just whip around any of these guys here, you'll see which tags are associated with each one. And again, you can search by them this way. You can also go, there's a brand new, under the setup menu, there's now a brand new setup tags window, which conveniently is on the wrong screen now because this is why I have a demo machine. So in demo land, everything's on the same screen, but no. And by the way, I have to apologize. This is the admin copy of ComicBase. If you guys ever wondered what's the difference between the admin copy of ComicBase and the copy that y'all see, well, there's a couple menu commands, but one of them is I get to see one or two secret fields you guys don't get to see. And so this a rare look into this one is that I get to see what its official sync up name is. You don't care about that. It's for internal use only. But I also get to see whether or not this is an official tag or not. You'll just see whether or not it's there or not. This is also where I get to change whether it's official or not. But you also can see from tags, and this is true of any version of ComicBase, you can see how many titles does a particular tag apply to. And so you can even sort them in according to that one. There's a few in here that I know they're coming, they aren't there yet. But you can see, for instance, the most popular, if I sort this in reverse order and go to the top, most popular tag we currently have in here right now, action adventure. Honestly, it's so many titles it applies to, it's really become meaningless. These ones you can tell are the original genre tags. So you can see why we had to adopt tagging. But when you go down to something further down the line here, which maybe makes a little bit more sense, you can start seeing, like, if you have things like psychological thriller or urban detective or medical thriller. It's kind of neat being able to say, okay, well, hey, I rather like this one. What other things can I do? And so you can get to it from there. You also can find based on tags. Let me go ahead and bring that over onto the screen. So if I say Control F and I say I want to find, and you'd find them under series fields and then tag. And then all you got to do is either scroll down or pick a tag that's interesting to you. So let's just say I'm feeling very murder. Let's say thrillery. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do that one, and let's see what we got. And then here you go, medical thrillers and Batman Contagion and so forth. So, but yeah, so you can bounce around from these things. What our goal is as we go here is that if you find things that, well, hey, I really quite like that title, tags give you a way of bouncing over to something else that you also might like. So let's say, I don't know, like, okay, Forever People is an interesting one. So Forever People, it's superheroes. I'm sorry, that one's Fantastic Voyage. Okay, yeah, okay, so here we are, Faint of Heart. So this one can be explored from any number of different angles to get you to different places and so forth. So yeah, it's what I'm hoping for is that this becomes different ways of exploring titles around you. And keep on clicking on the same one, which is not helpful behavior, Bickford. But okay, so yeah, we're just bouncing back to Batman again. But what we're hoping for is, it's like when you're looking in the video store and I'm looking for something interesting to watch. What would be some so angles I could go on that would help me find the next thing that I want to see? So let's say the Riddler. What do we got that's tagged with the Riddler and so forth? Now, again, I'm not going to say that this is comprehensive at the moment, but it will build out as we go. Right now, we took a good shot at the 95,000 plus titles that we had listed in ComicBase, and so which ones seem to apply to us. But we're going to be building on this based on your suggestions and adding new tags as we go. But we're looking for, again, is just different angles on how to find interesting stuff in the database. All right, let me go ahead and put myself back on the main camera and switch my view back so I'm looking at that. And apparently I've completed. Oh, right, because I was using that on my green screen monitor. Yes, this is improv TV. All right, let's talk about other things involving tags right now. So, all right, so yeah, it's a work in progress. If you are one of the very, very organized people in the world, where you like having things in a really tight classification system, like if you were the kind of person who would have helped devise the Dewey Decimal System, this is the sort of thing that will make you crazy, because there's not one canonical list of exactly where everything goes. There are a set of things that people seem to think it applies to. So when they look at a manga romance about two guys who fall in love with each other while cooking, and then they get brought into a new dimension where everything's made of creme brulee. There could be any number of tags that one would associate with that one. It's not going to fit neatly into manga, fantasy, alternate reality, etc. So what we're looking for is different points of action that connect titles up together in a valid way. I mean, we don't want a tag that's like, where the hell how did you get political thriller looking at Pokemon? It's like that would just be wrong. But when you're looking at the whole thing, you got to be able to sit there and say, oh, okay, I see how that one came out and why you might go from that one, and which point you to something else that might be like it, that you might also be interested in. And not coincidentally, it also helps us do things like throwing together interesting collections on Atomic Avenue and such. So we can say things like, hey, these are all things that are, say, political thrillers. And we could run specials, or we could do promotions around, here are political thrillers that you might be interested in. All right. But yes, if you want the idea that these are this beautiful lockdown classification system, it's going to make your brain itch. I'll just tell you that right now. There are certain rules. Things can overlap. For instance, Superman is a superhero, so all super man titles probably also ought to be listed in superheroes, but not all superheroes should be Superman. So there are some rules like that. And yes, there are definitely gaps. We are still figuring some of this out, and it's going to get better over time. So just kind of get ready for that one. And the other thing we're doing is we went originally, like I said, from 22 genre-based tags to 400 was our first pass. We try to keep it between 300 and 400 because that's how many you could kind of easily remember if you're going down the list. And so we could get everyone together and get on the same page and say, okay, has everyone got the definitions in their head very, very straight about what thing is isekai manga versus shoujo or whatever else, or shonen manga. Has everyone got all that? Great. Now let's go ahead and classify 95,000 books, magazines, titles, etc. Obviously a mad task. And so after we took the initial list and we played with it for a couple weeks, we actually went back for a second pass and we expanded it out to about 800 or so. And like I say, there will be some things that we expand, probably a few that we lose, like some of the ones like the more interesting characters. So for instance, Riddler and Joker are both tags. Penguin, for instance, is Batman villains. But I'm not sure if Catwoman is. Should she be? Yeah, probably. Poison Ivy, sure, why not? I know, what's her name? Harley Quinn is a tag that we put in there. But some of these things, in terms of the initial go-around, a bit arbitrary, but honestly, these are things that we can push out as part of a weekly update and just get in as we push content every week. So we're not particularly worried about it. It's the overall mechanism was what really took the work. All right, other things about this one is, well, I think that's about everything that my notes said. So you did see that, when you're editing a title, you can hit that little AI button. That is our actually first AI-based feature in ComicBase. So, go figure. And what it really came down to is it's kind of a pain in the ass to read all this stuff and kind of take your best guess at it and think of a list of 800 things and kind of compile a list and say, well, which ones do I think would apply? Much, much easier to say, hey, AI, what do you think should apply? Have it kick you back an answer and then edit from that list. Say, but you forgot Robin. Add in Robin. Or, yeah, no, I'm not sure about how much of a thriller this one is. And so you take that one out. So yeah, try that one out. Give it a shot. I do want to say this is because it's based on an AI that I believe we're using. Claude is the back end on this one, Anthropic's one. Yes, so it does mean that every time you hit that one, it hits my credit card. So be nice. Don't go nuts. And yes, because I'm not an idiot, yes, there's rate limiting built in. And yeah, if you pound the thing like a million times, you are going to get blocked. So don't do that. Just be a responsible adult. We're all trying to figure this stuff out as we go here. But we thought it was very helpful. So we're trying the thing out. So give it a go. And let me see what else is going on. Oh, the hit counts you saw. So the list of how many titles a given tag is used on. It's interesting. It gets calculated automatically when you download an issue update, but you also can force it to recalculate that. If you go into the File menu, go to File Tools, and if you say Rebuild Lists and for title information, that rebuild list thing, it always was like the most boring part of the program. Let me see, is my demo, now my demo machine's still goofed up. But the title information, just about the only thing that was in that list rebuild beforehand was things like calculating what the display name of the thing versus its sort name and a couple of things. So rebuilding the title information always took like about 5 seconds. Well, now it takes like 30 seconds because now it also figures out all the how many titles are tagged with which thing and updates all those counts. So if you want to force a recalculation of all the title counts, if you care about how popular something is, you can look at that by doing that rebuild list there. And is there anything else I had on the list of things you want to see here? There's a few other things that are of note in the latest interim updates. This is all going to be part of ComicBase 26.2. So as soon as we feel like we've got that all ready to rock, probably toward the end of this month, early next month, will probably be the official release of ComicBase 26.2. But in the meantime, if you would like to, you can download that one if you go and either go to the downloads and say, I also want to include interim updates, by downloading onto ComicBase.com. If you go to My Account and Registrations, it's going to default to show you the official release, but you also can click the additional updates, other downloads, and the most recent update, whether it's interim or not, will be shown there. So you can download it from there if you want to get started with this early, or you can just wait for it to be officially released. Another way to go is if you go under your preferences, go Setup, and then Preferences, and make sure you check where it says at the top, how often do you want to check for updates? If you check the box that says include interim updates, then it will also download this one. You'll get an early version of 26.2, which has the new tagging in it. So you can give that a go. The newest version also has some fixes for, there was a Crystal Reports bug. Crystal Reports is the reporting engine we use. And they released a service pack that broke certain of the custom check type things we were using, and we found a very involved way to work around that. So that's a fix in the most recent one. There's a couple other little things that are interesting, but the main things that we've done in the most recent interim updates is all the stuff that you saw today involving tagging. So give that a shot. We think you'll dig it. Oh, and Oro says, certainly pleased to see that Scrooge McDuck has his own tag. Of course he does, and we gave one to Mickey and Donald and those guys. I don't think Huey and Dewey and Louie got their own yet, but we'll take it there. Agent Camp says, what about Calendar Man? No, what about Calendar Man? Let me see here. Let me scroll back up here because I might be missing context on some of this stuff here. Okay. Will individual issue tags be available for user use, not for CB general use? No, they won't be, because you don't need them on individual issues, because you would use either notes or a custom field for those ones. It serves the same kind of purpose. The whole idea of a tag really is just, it's a grouping mechanism. It shouldn't be just, I want to look something up by something. If you want to say something like, hey, I want to, mark this as for sale or things like that. If you have the pro or better versions of ComicBase, you've already got a number of different custom checks you can use for things that are true or false. You've got dates you can use for things that are date-based, but you also have text-based fields for whatever the heck you want. So if you want to use one of the text-based fields for things like, issue tags or special issue markers or things like that, put whatever you want in that field, find my special issue markers includes whatever the heck you want to call, and you can get that list already. The tags are really meant to tag together series so we can group concepts together on that level. All right, let me see here. And more discussion about Sam Keith. And Aura says, yes, that was when he just added. And he said, I had an AI tag to that book. I did see that one. I couldn't tell for sure whether the AI tag was appropriate, so I didn't okay that one as part of the official one. But submit again, and we'll take it as we go. I'm trying to be a little bit cautious unless I see that things are obviously true. All right. Yeah, and this is, ooh, how do I get an admin copy? Yeah, no, no. Honestly, the admin copy will bore you to tears. Mostly, what it has is things for maintaining tables inside the program, which honestly you don't want. All right, so announcements for the whole thing. We've been giving these short shrift, but since it's the top of the hour, about time to start signing off. Please, if this is the sort of thing you like, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. This is the sort of thing we do, and we like seeing you out there. But make sure you do that, and also hit that bell button when so you can get announced when there's new things that we put out on the YouTubes. We also have ComicBase message boards out there at forums.comicbase.com, where there's a dedicated thread amongst all other things, information on how to request live stream topics and demos. And don't forget to check out Atomic Avenue, where we use ComicBase as the engine to drive the entire thing, and which is now going to be super tag based as well. So the thing that's driving a lot of this right now is I'm actually being pulled off to work on Atomic Avenue integration issues, and one of the very first things that I kind of drove on that one is like, hey, we want to have all these really cool collections. When are we ever going to work out the whole tag infrastructure? And they're like, yeah, Bickford, when are you going to work out the whole tag infrastructure? And I was like, don't. So anyway, that's where 3 weeks of my life goes away when I'm not building pavilions. All right, well, that's about it for now, guys. So anyway, hope you enjoy it. Have fun with it, play with it, explore it, and as you find new things that you think are should be added to it, make sure you highlight those things, right-click, say submit new or corrected data, and send them our way, because the richer we make this database, the cooler it gets for everybody. So that's about it. Thank you so much for everyone, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.